I don't want to say it. Sorry, I just thought that. All right, I got you. No, that's what I said. It was like weird big.
Yeah.
Oh no. Nobody is currently watching.
Emily, is your mom tuning in?
Not right now.
My mom's tuning in.
Nope. Not yet. It says 0. Then I got a talk about it, and then I got
I'll look at it.
Are you all good?
You nervous? What? Not were you nervous when you're recording? She doesn't talk.
What?
I heard you're recording.
Yeah, I forgot the paper that I printed for it.
I expect plenty of flair.
I spilled my water. I backpacked it. I'm going to tell you my compliment.
For our senators over there, I would get your seats just. Yeah. Double F. Yes.
Sorry, I posted that for my date. Thanks, Dad.
Cover my face.
However, everybody knows you're gonna be in their seats when the music stops.
I call to order the April 25th meeting of the Student Government Association. We are live streaming the meeting, but please review your agendas while Adam does roll call.
Kayla Evans.
Here.
Cade Levens.
Here.
Levi Ekstrom.
Here.
Caitlin Egan.
Here.
Nicholas Smith.
Here.
Timothy Allen. Isabel Katea. Haley Kane. Kaylin Westcott.
Here.
Maggie Roberts. Konstantinos Tisopoulos.
Here.
Christopher Lannon. Here. Eric Hardy. Ethan Haynes. Loic Black. Alexandria Malias. Daniel Lyons.
Here.
Lucas Appel.
Here.
Scott Dwan. Nick Palumbo. Sarah Harrington.
Here.
Joseph Benia.
Here.
Angela Hayes.
Here.
Justin Walls.
Here.
Jack Roy.
Here.
Are there any corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, the minutes are approved.
Now, if you've read report, Aaron Lessing.
Hi, everyone. This is our second to last meeting, so we have one more to go after this. First, I just want to congratulate everyone on that Wonder Elections. I'm really excited for you all. I know the next year will be great. We do need to accept the election results, so therefore, I move to accept the spring 2023 election results for the 2023-2024 academic year.
Second. It has been moved and seconded to accept the spring 2023 election results for the 2023-2024 academic year. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you, Louisa. So just some quick updates for you all. Next Monday is our Senate banquet. I hope to see you all there. It begins at 5 p.m. 5:30 p.m. And I believe it's more of like a business casual for dressing up. That's kind of what I remember it being last year. So look out for that. And then next Tuesday is our last meeting. I've invited President Thompson to come down, but it won't be a dress code meeting. We will have food for everyone, and we have superlatives that everyone can get. So we'll have food for you all for next Tuesday. I met with President Thompson on Friday. I mentioned the need for new software for choosing housing, and she said she was looking into it. We also discussed Bates. Will be getting renovated next, and they're going to be putting an elevator in Dower for ADA compliance. Yeah, and she also mentioned the Provost Search Committee that you should have gotten an email for, so please be on the lookout for that. And I want to thank everyone that's been going to the VPFC student forums, and I encourage you all, I think we have 2 left, so please go to those as well. And please let Joseph, because I know Joseph and Dan are both on the committee, know who you like the most. I also want to thank you all for your engagement with Senator Fields last week. And for those of you that attended the mental health forum with him yesterday as well, it went pretty well yesterday. They had a big crowd. So that's all I got.
Are there any questions, comments, or concerns for Aaron? Seeing none, thank you, Aaron.
Food Services Committee, Adam Carpenter.
Happy second to last food services report of the semester, or as those of you without my temporarily inflated sense of confidence, second to last SGA meeting of the spring year. I have two big topics that I want to talk about today. The first of these is hours for the DC and late night for next year are in debate to be changed. The idea that we are currently floating is that we would move dinner in the DC back to a time frame of 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. as opposed to the 4 to 8 p.m. that we currently have. This would mean that there's a longer transition time between meals from 2 to 5, where there's the reduced transition time menu in the DC. The other change that would occur with this is that late night hours would be from 9 p.m. to midnight. The drawback to this is that I was told that it would likely only be dining dollars and owl bucks accepted for bistro late night, which I know we all have thoughts about. To quickly aside, the bistro is set to be in, or the late night is set to be in the bistro, as that was what was shown on the results of the poll that was sent out by dining. Now, back to what I was saying. The rationale for this decision was down to a few things. The first of which being that I believe this was a way that we could help student athletes with being able to get a hot meal after practice. Because when I went to SAC, they said that it would be appreciated if the DC was open until at least 9. The other aspect of this is I saw it as a way of extending the time that late night was open, because my personal belief is that on a college campus, 11 p.m. is not late night. In order to be genuine and present both sides of the issue though, there are two drawbacks to this in my opinion, even though about half of this came from me as an idea. The first of these is obviously that late night would not accept the meal swipe next year. This could be problematic, and I think it's worth noting that it was not initially part of the proposal that I brought up, but it was told that that was kind of a compromise that we would need to make. And the second of these things is something that I started to think about while I was writing this report, which would be that it may potentially be worse for people with night classes, as they would not have a full menu available when they're trying to get a meal before class. But that might just be a personal thing for someone who has a lot of night classes in their major. And then I'm just very excited to hear your thoughts on that matter. And the second area of focus I want to talk about is about the committee as a whole. Bill proposed that a way for this committee to be more effective would be to focus on 3 overarching goals for the DC over the year, in order to have something that we're able to monitor the process on that we make as a committee. And in my opinion, it would serve as a way of holding both dining and our committee to be accountable for actually addressing the students' concerns. As a committee, we sort of set what 2 of the objectives would be for next year, which are to finally address the allergen and ingredient list informations, and to make food in the dining hall more diverse, and for the food to represent the people that actually patronize the DC. And then we're looking for a third focus for the year to be more like a systematic idea. So if you have anything, please let me know. And that is all.
Are there any comments, questions, or concerns for Adam? Dan Courier?
Hi, Adam. So I'd certainly recommend, and I mentioned this before too, outside of SGA, but certainly for on the record and for everyone here, I'd recommend that a survey be sent out, just information, you can even make a guide to students. I would not want to make a decision on this until I hear from the majority of the students, because there are pros and cons to each side of this. So I'd want to hear what the students say rather than just a small group.
Yeah, I agree. My one concern on surveying is timelines, because per contractual stuff, they need to have, like, send out their schedules to workers for stuff in advance, like before the academic year starts, and we're kind of running very low on time. Obviously, it would have been very much more ideal if we'd had this discussion a while ago, but it's kind of more of a last minute discussion, but I will try to get with Bill and get something out quickly if possible.
Any further?
Aaron Lessing?
Yeah, I think for a big idea, definitely, I think really exploring housing insecure students being able to, and even athletes eating over spring and winter break, even during the summer. I know Bill's kind of looking at that, but I would love to see something come into fruition.
Yeah, that's definitely a good idea. I kind of wasn't immediately going to that just because of the fact that like efforts are being done on that end, and I don't know exactly where it's at. Hopefully it's closer than further, but we'll figure that out as time goes.
Any further questions for Adam? Seeing none, thank you, Adam. Curriculum Committee, Sarah Harrington.
Hi, everyone. This past Friday, April 21st, University Curriculum Committee met. SCORE Committee reported, they gave an update and progress report. They asked for endorsements of the model and then gave us area descriptions. And then there's learning outcomes, and we were ready to pilot. There's considerations of the last JED model. And we voted to endorse along with a few of the minor changes, and that took the entirety of the meeting.
Are there any comments, questions, or concerns for Sarah? Seeing none, thank you, Sarah. SCORE Committee, Chris Landon.
Hello, just a few announcements. The last SCORE committee is this week, I think. So if you have anything you want to let me know before then that you want to see going forward, just let me know. Finally, I want to congratulate Sarah Harrington on her victory. I know you're going to do amazing things, and I look forward to seeing what you do. That's all.
Are there any comments, questions, or concerns for Chris? Seeing none, thank you, Chris. Vice President's Report of Student Equity, Rodney Duteau.
Hello, everybody. We have two small reports. The first one is earlier today, myself, Joseph, a few Jedi Fellows, and one person from the BSU exec had the opportunity of attending the Board of Trustees meeting to express how we feel unsafe as students of color on campus. A lot of the people within the room seem really receptive and seem willing to find ways to make a difference on our campus moving forward. The second thing I'd like to report is I was having a conversation with Father Savage, and they're actually making plans to adding a gazebo, a small gazebo in the meditation garden next to the building.
Any comments, questions, or concerns for Rodney? Seeing none, thank you, Rodney. Finance Committee, Dan Courier.
All right, good evening. The Finance Committee met yesterday to review, can we just put down the.
I'll make sure.
Perfect. So the Finance Committee met yesterday to review one finance proposal submitted on behalf of Circle K. In accordance with the SGA finance bylaws, the Finance Committee has rendered an advisory opinion on the finance proposal. The sole power to accept, deny, table, or amend lies with the legislature. Tonight we will have this final say on this proposal. I will detail the finance proposal in full. I'll make a motion based on the Finance Committee's recommendation. I encourage you to ask questions and provide comments after I make the motion. Tonight we will discuss finance proposal S23005, which was submitted on behalf of Circle K, which has a balance of $4,000 in their club account. Circle K has requested $600 to cover the costs associated with registration for 2 officers of Circle K to attend the Circle K International Convention, slated to be held from January 21st to January 24th, 2023 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This conference, which has been supported by SGA in previous years, is an opportunity for Circle K members at Westfield State University to network with their counterparts from other universities domestically and abroad. In accordance with the current SGA finance bylaws, Circle K is requesting that SGA cover 100% of these costs. Upon discussion, the Finance Committee believes the amount requested was reasonable and that Circle K should be allocated the full amount requested. By a vote of 4-0, the Finance Committee endorsed the proposal. Therefore, I move to accept Finance Proposal S23005 and to allocate $600 to Circle K.
Second. It has been moved and seconded to allocate $600 to Circle K for their trip to Minneapolis. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries.
The next meeting of the Finance Committee will be this Monday, May 1st, 2023 at 3:30 p.m. We will be discussing the preliminary FY24 budget. I'm continuing to have meetings this week and we'll work on the budget packet this weekend. SJ will vote on the preliminary budget on Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023, prior to our festivities that day. Should you have any questions, please let me know.
Are there any comments, questions, or concerns for Dan? Seeing none, thank you, Dan. Vice President Report of Publicity, Elizabeth Mercer.
Hi guys, last week we key committee met and we selected 4 award recipients, and they will be announced at our SGA meeting.
Are there any comments, questions, or concerns for Elizabeth? Seeing none, thank you, Elizabeth. Neighborhood Advisory Board, Elizabeth Mercer.
Hey guys, so tonight is the pizza party that the Neighborhood Advisory Board is hosting. The people attending will enjoy pizza, drinks, and get to watch the rehearsal of the play Antigone.
Are there any comments, questions, or concerns for Elizabeth? Seeing none, thank you, Elizabeth. Blue Key Committee, Elizabeth Mercer.
So every year we have what's called anti-SGA meeting, which is where we have a slideshow of funny pictures and videos. So if you have any pictures or videos that you want to be in it, can you send it to me? And then I think it's easier if you send it to me over like my phone number. So if you guys want, it's 203-745-6036. And then can you also send formal pictures for the award ceremony slideshow? Thank you.
Are there any comments, questions, or concerns for Elizabeth? Seeing none, thank you, Elizabeth. Rules and Regulations Committee, Liam Khan.
All right, Rules and Regs met Tuesday, April 11, 2023, and unanimously accepted the finance bylaws. It's here, we're gonna go over them, we'll get some feedback, and hopefully approve them. All right, so I was told not to read these to you, so
Unless there's an overwhelming.
unless everyone really wants me to. So if you need help sounding it out, let me know. So let's get into it. Section 1. How we feel?
Did everyone read them?
Better? We got a thumbs up or like a head bobble, we're good. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Section. If there's any issues, please.
Whose computer is this? If you want to.
All right, okay. Purpose, the Finance Committee shall act as an advisory committee to SGA on financial related matters, including requests from SGA recognized clubs and organizations for additional funds, approval of the fiscal year SGA budget, review of the finance bylaws for SGA, and audits of SGA recognized clubs and organizations. B, membership. The vice president for finance shall serve as chair in an ex officio non-voting capacity. One member from each class, though not necessarily class officers, shall be appointed by the SGA vice president for finance. Members may be senators or executive council members. Quorum for all finance committee meetings shall be 50% of the membership of the committee. In the event that the finance committee has not been formed, all rights and responsibilities will be deferred to the executive council. We all good with this? We're all good with this. Section 3. A, Student Government Association shall operate on a fiscal year budget cycle in line with the university and Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The fiscal year shall commence on July 1st and conclude on June 30th of the subsequent calendar year. SGA shall have the power in accordance with applicable university policies and statutes of the Commonwealth and of the United States of America to raise revenues through a student activity fee set by the Westfield State University Board of Trustees. Love it or list it? Love it. So sorry we have to do this. Section 3. Preliminary budget development and approval. In the spring prior to the start of the new fiscal year, the SGA Vice President for Finance shall work with appropriate staff members and club leaders to craft a preliminary budget for the next fiscal year. Utilizing information obtained from individual meetings and pertinent documents, the SGA Vice President for Finance shall develop a preliminary budget package to present to the Finance Committee no later than the third week of April. The Finance Committee shall have the power to render one of the following opinions on the preliminary budget presented by the SGA Vice President for Finance. Endorsement. The Finance Committee agrees with the preliminary budget as submitted with no modifications. The Finance Committee shall vote by a 50% majority plus one in favor of the preliminary budget without modifications. In the event of a tie, the SGA Vice President for Finance shall break the tie. I'm so sorry we have to do this. Recommendation, the Finance Committee may opt to modify or rewrite sections of the preliminary budget without denying it in full. The Finance Committee shall vote by a 50% majority plus one in, I'm not. Rejection. Rejection, Finance Committee does not agree with the preliminary budget as submitted in its entirety. And then the same thing. In the event that the preliminary budget is rejected, the SGA Vice President of Finance shall work with members of the Finance Committee to develop a new preliminary budget. Table, the Finance Committee may elect to postpone a final decision on the preliminary budget until such time that more information is provided. And the preliminary budget following an endorsement or recommendation by the Finance Committee shall be presented to the legislature for final approval no later than the first week of May. The legislature shall, by a 50% majority plus one in favor of the preliminary budget in order to take effect as of July 1st of the following year. The legislature shall have the power to modify the preliminary budget via line item amendment by a 2/3 majority vote. The approval of the preliminary budget entitles SGA professional staff to transmit funds in consultation with the SGA Vice President for Finance and the Executive Council. Are we all good with that? Section 3. D, final budget development and approval in the fall following the start of the fiscal year. The SGA Vice President for Finance shall work with appropriate staff members and club leaders to finalize all revenue and expense accounts. Utilizing information obtained from individual meetings and pertinent documents, the SGA Vice President for Finance shall develop a final budget package to present to the Finance Committee no later than the first week of October. I should have brought water for up there. The Finance Committee shall have the power to render one of the following opinions on the final budget presented by the SGA Vice President for Finance. Endorsement. The Finance Committee agrees with the final budget as submitted with no modifications. The Finance, yeah, that's the vote. Recommendation, the Finance Committee may opt to modify or rewrite sections of the final budget without denying it in full. And then the voting thingy again. Rejection, the Finance Committee does not agree with the final budget as submitted in its entirety. In the event that the final budget is rejected, the Vice President for Finance shall work with members of the Finance Committee to develop a new final budget. Table, the Finance Committee may like to postpone a final decision on the final budget until such time that more information is provided. the voting thingy. The final budget following an endorsement or recommendation by the Finance Committee shall be presented to the legislature for final approval no later than the third week of October. The voting thingy, the legislature shall have the power to modify the final budget via line item amendment by a 2/3 majority vote. The approval of the final budget entitles SGA professional staff to transmit funds in consultation with the Vice President for Finance and the Executive Council. Are we all vibing with this? Vibing. Everyone in this room hates me so much right now.
I'm sorry.
No, we're vibing.
We're vibing with it. We just said we're vibing with it. E, the Executive Council shall have the authority to modify budget line items following the approval of the final budget and reallocate funds to other purposes by 50% plus 1 vote, provided that the legislature is informed of these modifications. This was deleted. That is all.
Hold on. Show it to them. You can't say we're getting rid of something.
It says moved.
Okay, good.
A. Section 4, fundraising. Any active club organization that falls under the oversight, management, or is subject to review by the Student Government Association must adhere to policies and procedures relating to fundraising activities on and off campus. All SGA recognized clubs and organizations must adhere to the policies and procedures outlined by the SGA Vice President for Finance, the Finance Committee, and the university. All SGA recognized clubs and organizations must complete paperwork in line with SGA and university policies, and a fundraising request form must be submitted to the SGA Vice President for Finance 5 business days or more prior to the start of the fundraiser. The SGA President for Finance shall have the authority to revise the fundraising request form as needed. A fundraising report form must be submitted to the SGA Vice President for Finance within 5 business days of the completion of the fundraiser. The SGA Vice President for Finance shall have the authority to revise the fundraising report form as needed. Guidelines and bylaws, including expressed, written, or stated directions given by the SGA Vice President for Finance or their designee, accompanying any paperwork received by a club or organization's officer. Any active club or organization that falls under the oversight, management, or is subject to review by the Student Government Association is subject to the following penalties for not adhering to SGA and/or university fundraising policy. The club or organization's account shall be frozen at the discretion of the SGA Vice President for Finance until such time that the situation has been remedied as determined by the Finance Committee. The club or organization shall be subject to a probationary period of 20 days or longer at the discretion of the Finance Committee, whereby the club or organization may not request funds via the Finance Committee. Any fundraiser deemed to have an off-campus audience or require the solicitation of outside businesses must be approved by the Vice President for institutional advancement or their designee prior to the submission of a fundraiser request form through the SGA. Good news? Good news. Very similar to when you guys read it over spring break, which of course you all did. Section 5. All SGA recognized clubs and organizations, with the exception of clubs, sports teams, shall have the right to request additional funds from the finance proposal pool via the Finance Committee. To request additional, he's already out of here. To request additional funds, the officer of the club organization shall submit a finance proposal form, which should include an explanation of the proposed expenditure, a description of what is to be purchased, quantities and prices for items to be purchased, and pertinent documentation to verify the amount submitted. All proposals must be submitted to the SGA Vice President of Finance at least 24 hours before the Finance Committee is slated to meet. I don't remember it being this long. The SGA Vice President for Finance shall have the authority to revise the finance proposal form as needed. an officer from the club organization that submitted the finance proposal form is expected to appear before the finance committee to answer questions posed by the committee. If a club organization is denied the right to meet with the finance committee by the SGA Vice President for Finance, it may appeal the decision through the procedure outlined in Section 8. Upon questioning the officer of the club or organization and upon further discussion, the finance committee shall render one of the following opinions. Endorsement, yeah, we all know this. Recommendation, we remember this. Rejection, yeah, the votey thingy, table. Other stipulations. The finance committee, in addition to the above mentioned options, may elect to add restrictions on the finance proposal. Such restrictions may include, but not limited to, time, purpose, vendor, and document verification. The finance proposal shall then be presented to the legislature at the next scheduled SGA meeting. The SGA Vice President for Finance will present the legislature with the opinion of the Finance Committee along with the applicable vote totals. The SGA Vice President for Finance shall make a motion before the legislature on behalf of the Finance Committee to accept its opinion. The decision of the Finance Committee to table the proposal does not necessitate SGA action and shall remain within the Finance Committee. Decisions of the Finance Committee to either endorse, recommend, or reject the proposal shall necessitate SGA action. The SGA shall have the power to vote for or against a proposal, make a motion to amend the proposal, or vote to table the proposal and send it back to the Finance Committee for further review. The votey thingy. 2/3 majority vote is necessary. The vote is the official and final decision of the SGA. All funding must be approved at least 15 business days prior to activity or purchase and 45 business days prior to a conference. It is the responsibility of the president or treasurer of an SGA recognized club or organization to submit an accurate proposal, comply with the proposal once approved, and ensure the proper, ethical, and efficient use of SGA funds along with the funds derived from other sources. We're getting there. We're getting there. Section 6. Wait, were we all good with what I just said? It's like I didn't even have to ask. An SGA recognized club organization may not receive SGA funds or initiate new purchases if it is not in good standing with Student Government Association as defined in this section. Use of funds. SGA recognized clubs and organizations may not use funds in a manner that is illegal, in violation of the SGA Constitution and or bylaws, unethical in any aspect, inefficient or unproductive. The Finance Committee shall have the power to suspend funding or withhold access to a club's account by a vote of 50%, one of the Finance Committee. Membership requirements. SGA recognized clubs and organizations shall be open to all students who have paid their student activity fee. Election requirements. All SGA recognized clubs and organizations shall hold elections for their respective officers during their first few weeks of the fall semester to coincide with the SGA first year class and hall representative elections. Oh, can I do that here?
Yeah, you can have it.
Yes. All clubs and organizations may, however, opt to hold elections during the spring semester in conjunction with the SGA spring elections. Adherence to financial policies. SGA recognized clubs and organizations must comply with SGA and university fundraising policies and procedures. SGA recognized clubs and organizations must deposit all revenues into their respective club accounts within 1 business day. SGA recognized clubs and organizations must not owe money to any departments on campus. Welcome back. SGA recognized clubs and organizations shall have a current constitution on file with the parliamentarian that is reviewed at least every 3 years by the Rules and Regulations Committee. SGA sponsored trainings and meetings. SGA recognized clubs and organizations must attend meetings deemed mandatory by the Student Government Association. All club presidents or their designee are expected to attend an annual and monthly set of trainings for club officers and SGA procedures. Failure to attend these trainings shall result in suspension of the club's access to SGA funding until such time that the training has been provided. All club advisors are expected to attend trainings deemed mandatory by Student Government Association, including annual Title IX and Clery Act trainings. Failure to attend these trainings shall result in the suspension of the club's activities until such time that the trainings have been provided. Exclusive groups and activities. The Student Government Association is unable to recognize clubs that are deemed exclusive and are not open to all students who have paid their student activity fee. In the event that the Finance Committee believes an SGA recognized club or organization is exclusive, they shall request the opinion of the Rules and Regulations Committee within 5 business days. The Executive Council shall have the power to grant funding to exclusive groups and activities at their discretion. Club standings and appeals. If the SGA recognized club or organization is not in agreement with the SGA Vice President for Finance or the parliamentarian regarding their standing, they shall have the right to appeal their standing with the Rules and Regulations Committee. New clubs, any new club organization that has not been in existence and has their constitution ratified by the Rules and Regulations Committee, or any club organization that is reactivated and has less than $100 in their club account, shall be eligible for a $100 allocation to serve as seed funding for the club, provided that they attend the mandatory trainings. Reactivation shall be defined as a club or organization that was active in the past but has not been meeting or conducting events for the previous 2 academic years. We're feeling it? We're feeling it. Finance audit. The SGA President for Finance shall have the power to audit SGA recognized clubs and organizations when it's suspected that funds are being used in a manner that is illegal, in violation of the SGA Constitution and/or bylaws, unethical in any aspect, inefficient or unproductive. The SGA Vice President for Finance shall inform the Finance Committee of the pending audit and shall request the assistance of members in completing said audit. The SGA Vice President for Finance shall publish an audit report within 30 business days of informing the Finance Committee of the pending audit. The report and its findings shall be transmitted to the membership of the Finance Committee, the membership of the Rules and Regulations Committee, the Executive Council, SGA professional staff, and the President of the SGA recognized club or organization in question. Upon review of the audit report, the Finance Committee, yeah, that's the vote thingy. We all know that. Appeal process. Should an SGA recognized club or organization be denied the right to appeal before the Finance Committee by the SGA Vice President for Finance, the club or organization may request a hearing and/or written determination of the club or organization standing on proposal via the Rules and Regulations Committee. The Rules and Regulations Committee will determine whether the SGA Vice President for Finance denied the right of the club or organization to appear before the Finance Committee. If the Rules and Regulations Committee agrees that the club or organization is not properly prepared to meet with the Finance Committee, no action will be taken. If the Rules and Regulations Committee disagrees with the decision of the SGA Vice President for Finance, it may mandate that club organizations may be invited to the next meeting of the Finance Committee and that an opinion be rendered or tabled if further information is necessary. Section 9. Are we all good with that? Great. Section 9. This is the last one.
Not the last one.
Well, section 9 is very long. This is the last one. Unfortunately, it is very long. The Student Government Association will not fund expenses which exceed club estimates. This includes, but is not limited to, expenditures based on the estimated number of participants, estimated prices, and/or estimated quality. Purchase orders are required. Expenditures exceed $200. No reimbursement will be issued for expenditures over $200 if a purchase order has not been completed through the Office of Student Activities, Involvement, and Leadership sale. Proof of expenditures such as itemized bill or receipt must explicitly state the price and quantity of goods or services provided. All reimbursement requests and itemized receipts must be submitted to sale professional staff as soon as possible after the purchase. Reimbursements will not be accepted any later than 45 days after the purchase. Maximum expenditures. The Student Government Association has set the following maximum percentages and/or totals for the following expenditure types along with funding stipulations. These maximum expenditure percentages and/or totals can be adjusted by the Student Government Association by 2/3 majority for a particular request or line item. All travel funded by the Student Government Association must comply with the universal travel policies with one faculty or staff chaperone for 10 students. Good with everything I just said? Great. Transportation, the maximum funding for vehicle lease or rental is 50%, no more than $2,000. The maximum funding for fuel costs is 50%. The current mileage rate set by the university for use of the university vehicle. There shall be no maximum funding for parking and toll costs, provided that they are reasonable and within the scope of the event, conference, or excursion. Funding costs associated with personal vehicles will not be considered unless the university vehicle or contracted transportation service is not available or feasible. Transportation practice must adhere to current universal travel policies. If an individual or a group declines university transportation and or misses their scheduled transportation, SGA is not fiscally responsible. SGA is unable to fund travel by air or rail. Maximum funding for conference registration is 50% and no more than $3,000 for students. There shall be no maximum funding for conference registration for the required amount of advisors and chaperones. Student Opportunity Fund, SGA shall maintain a student opportunity fund for students who are unable to afford the cost of conference registration. Procedures for trips and conferences, registration for trips and conferences for clubs and organizations shall be made through SAIL professional staff. All clubs and organizations are expected to adhere to Westfield State University travel policy. If a student is unable to attend a conference and funds have been prepaid for the registration and or hotel accommodations, student must speak to their club advisor and the SGA Vice President for Finance. Every attempt must be made to receive a refund for registration and or hotel costs. In the event that this does not happen, then the student may be held responsible for repaying SGA for said expenses in its entirety. What's up? We go with those? We're good with those.
Oh, quickly, I'm actually gonna work to amend one of them, so I'm gonna put a motion forward on one of the, portions that's based on conversations I've had with club leaders over the past few weeks. So I would move to amend Article 4, Section 9, subsection B, Clause 3, that's for conferences, by striking the current language in subclause A and inserting the following. The maximum funding for conference registration is $2,000. So we would change it from 50%, because registration currently we pay 100% for, and there's gonna be a lot of, you say $3,000 at the top. There's just gonna be a lot of complications with that, based on the conversations I've had with club and organization leaders this past week. 2,000 seems to be a good number to stop at, so we would change it from 50% up to 3,000 to a maximum of 2,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded for under 3, A, from changing $3,000 to $2,000.
And then also removing the 50, I can reread it, so it's it would be inserting, so taking out that whole section A and inserting the maximum funding for conference registration is $2,000. So removing the 50% threshold as well.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded to change conferences A from 50% no more than $3,000 to just no more than $2,000. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns on that motion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Amendment passes. So that can be changed.
Yeah, we'll do that next week. People need to see me struggle with Microsoft Word. We were at hotels? Yeah. Maximum funding for hotel accommodations 50% for students and no more than $2,000. There shall be no maximum funding for hotel accommodations for the required amount of advisors and chaperones. Hotel reservations must be made through SAIL professional staff. Dining and refreshments, the maximum funding for food and refreshments consumed on campus is 50% and no more than $500. All meal-related purchases must be made through authorized vendors pursuant to contracts signed between Student Government Association and said vendors. Student Government Association shall not fund meals consumed off campus. SGA recognized clubs and organizations are entitled to use their club funds for meals consumed off campus, provided that they receive the approval of the SGA Vice President for Finance at least 5 business days prior to the meal. Alcohol is not eligible for funding. Recreational equipment, the maximum funding for equipment is 50% and no more than $1,500. Equipment responsibilities and procedures, clubs and organizations are expected to complete yearly inventory reports. Clubs and organizations must abide by all SGA restrictions on use or users. All repairs, either customary or extraordinary, are the responsibility of the club or organization. Equipment shall be stored in areas designated by the Student Government Association. Personal use is forbidden under any circumstance. A request for joint ownership of equipment must be made prior to a decision by the Finance Committee. Good with all that?
I have an amendment, two amendments actually. So my first amendment would be, I move to amend Article 4, Section 9, subsection B, Clause 6, by renaming the clause as equipment and striking the current language in subclause A and inserting the following. There shall be no maximum funding for equipment, provided that the equipment purchase is within the scope of the club's missions. And the reason being for this is There's other types of equipment. We didn't include this in our original draft. So of course, thinking about first responders club, they need equipment and materials and supplies. And there's a lot more than $1,500 needs to be purchased. And also WSQB, if they need equipment, that's more than $1,500. So we're just thinking best practice would be to ensure no maximum thresholds, but have that in there that's within the club's mission.
Is there a second on this motion? Second. It's been moved and seconded to amend under equipment, section A under equipment. The max funding for equipment is 50% and no more than $1,500 to no maximum funding, however, within this club's mission. Is there any comments, questions, or concerns on that motion? Adam Carpenter.
There's no point having it in there, that's like at all, if that's what the wording is gonna be, in my opinion. Because like, I think the personal reason why I wanted that in there in the first place was to limit like ridiculous requests.
Yeah.
To ask for like 13 different items of equipment on a list, so like, I feel like that's still gonna move from the scope of the club, so it doesn't really have any power.
Is this is where it gets tricky, because each club circumstance, and I'm realizing this as I go through my meetings this week, is a little different, and it really will have to fall upon the SGA Vice President for Finance and the Finance Committee to weed through the reasonable and the unreasonable. I hope that they are, they have the critical thinking skills necessary to weed through that. So that's why I would put that in there, that's have that caveat is within the scope of the club's mission, and then they should understand the financial situation of SGA, that we can't give $10,000 for some ridiculous equipment. So that's really the hope there.
Any further comments, questions, or concerns on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
I have one further amendment. I move to amend Article 4, Section 9, subsection B, Clause 6, Subclause B, Item 3, by inserting the following prior to the current language. Maintenance stipends may be provided to clubs and organizations of up to $1,000. So maintenance stipends, here's something that came up this week in one of our meetings. So First Responders Club, they actually have control over an ambulance that they own. We would still include that any extraordinary repairs would be their responsibility. But it is important that we include that in there because this has been past practice for a number of years and was never included in the SGA finance bylaws. I think it's important to at least include it in there so we have backing and precedent for that stipend, just for that purpose.
So is there a second on that motion? So, hold on, I'm trying to think of it. All right, I need to see it again. It's been moved and seconded to edit the language on Article 4, Section 9, subsection B, Clause 6, subclause B, Item 3, by inserting the following prior to the current language. Maintenance stipends may be provided to clubs and organizations up to $1,000. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns on that motion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nay. Abstentions? Motion carries.
Maybe lose my place, now we have to start. Dues, the maximum funding for national chapter and our local dues is 50% and no more than $1,000. Licenses and certifications are not considered dues. Subscriptions, there shall be no maximum funding for subscriptions. Only subscriptions related to the club's mission will be funded. Licenses and certifications, there shall be no maximum funding for licenses and certifications. Prizes and raffles, prizes, awards, and gifts shall not be funded by a student government association. All raffles must be approved by a vice president for institutional advancement. I'll go with that. I'll go with that.
Okay.
Apparel and novelty items shall not be funded by the Student Government Association. Guest speakers, maximum funding for an on-campus guest speaker shall be no more than $2,000, provided that the speaking event is open to the entire campus community. A guest speaker is defined as an individual giving a lecture and or presentation. Guest instructors, the maximum funding for an on-campus guest instructor is 75% and no more than $1,000, provided the instruction is open to the entire campus community. A guest instructor is defined as an individual guiding students through an activity, workshop, or lesson. Performers, the maximum funding for a performer or performance show held on campus, i.e. comedy routine, magic show, or dance event, is 50% and no more than $1,000, provided that the performance is open to the entire campus community. Off-campus outings, the maximum funding for an off-campus outing, performance, or bowling event is 50% and no more than $1,000. This section applies to ticket cost, registration, and applicable fees. On-campus event. The maximum funding for items not covered under a section above as it relates to on-campus events, i.e. inflatables, character artists, or gaming vendor, is 50% and no more than $300, provided that the on-campus event is open to the entire campus community. SGA recognized clubs and organizations are encouraged to collaborate with fellow clubs and organizations, the Campus Activity Board, the Office of Student Activities, involvement in leadership sale, and other university offices in organizing on-campus events for students. All good with that? These bylaws shall be reviewed annually by the SGA Vice President for Finance and Accounts Committee in order to ensure that all procedures are current and meet the requirements of Westwood State University and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Great. That's it. All right. I move to accept the revisions to the bylaws as amended.
It's been moved and seconded to, oh my gosh, amend the bylaws as amended. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns on the motion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns for Liam? Seeing none. Thank you, Liam. Is there any new business? Seeing none. Announcements. Elizabeth Mercer?
If you guys didn't put your sizes, can you come up and put it again for the long sleeve t-shirts?
Matt D'Elia?
Hi, everyone. The Dean of Students Office is seeking volunteers to meet with the JET Foundation on mental health on campus tomorrow from 3:30 to 5. If you are able to be there for any portion of that 3:30 to 5, please see Shannon and I over here at the end of the meeting. There be snacks.
Any further announcements? Michaela Evans.
24 days till commencement.
Roll call.
Michaela Evans.
Here.
Cade Levens.
Here.
Levi Ekstrom.
Here.
Caitlin Egan.
Here.
Nicholas Smith. Here. Timothy Allen. Isabella Cateo.
Here.
Haley Kane. Kaylin Westcott.
Here.
Maggie Roberts.
Here.
Konstantinos Tsopoulos. Here. Christopher Lannon. Here. Eric Hardy. Ethan Haynes. Here. Loic Black. Alexandria Malius.
Here.
Daniel Lyons.
Here.
Lucas Appel.
Here.
Scott Dwan. Nick Plumbo. Sarah Harrington.
Here.
Joseph Benia.
Here.
Angela Hayes.
Here.
Justin Walls.
Here.
Jack Wright.
There's no additional business. I adjourn the meeting till May 2nd.
Can you believe it's not even 6:30? Because I can't.
I know, they're so good.
Aaron, I-